Free of charge. What happens if the state starts to give money to people? Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. I guess everyone wants to do nothing and get paid for it, huh? Or just like me, to be able to do what you love and also get paid for it? Okay, whatever. In fact, there are some dudes who want it so badly that they even came up with a scientific name for it. Universal Basic Income. Shortly, UBI. In today's video, we and Smart is the New Sexy will try to find out, is it a good idea? Just to give people money, and what can come of it? The advantages and disadvantages of a UBI. Daniel Straub remembers the evening when he was on fire with the idea of basic income. He invited Götz Werner, a billionaire and owner of a German pharmacy chain, to give a speech in Zurich, where Straub worked as a project manager at a research center. He read an article about a non-standard idea to provide all citizens with a guaranteed income, and after a few years, independently studied it. Straub knew that Werner was a good specialist on the subject, and that night in 2009, he really managed to get the attention of an audience of 200 people. Werner asked the audience two questions. What do you really want to do with your life? Do you do what you want to do? Without waiting for an answer, he said that basic income is a way to achieve these goals. The essence of the idea is as simple as radical. Instead of dealing with a variety of programs of social protection and combating unemployment, the state could regularly pay each citizen a certain amount. No conditions, no questions. All people, poor or rich, working or unemployed, would receive the same amount. This innovation would lead to a new way of life. If people do not have to think more about how to make ends meet, perhaps everyone would do what he really wants. Blast my peel! What an idea! At the university, Straub studied business, international politics, and psychology, and then worked for a long time at IBM, the International Red Cross, and the Montessori School. The idea of unconditional income touched a nerve, he says. People are exhausted as never before. I am exhausted too. Really, as never before. After Werner's speech, Straub resigned from the research center and began a full-scale campaign to introduce basic income. He and several hundred volunteers for more than 2 years were able to collect 126,000 signatures. This was enough for the authorities had to appoint to the June 5th referendum on amending the Constitution of Switzerland and guarantee an unconditional income to all citizens. The proposed monthly payment was 2,500 francs, which is equivalent to $1,700 when adapted to the cost of living. Holy bananoli! However, in a referendum held on 5th of June 2016, the Swiss voted against unconditional basic income. Why Switzerland refused a UBI? Without exception, all representatives of the Swiss government were against the referendum. Can you believe that? As the reasons they cited the possible refusal of people from work and high budget expenditures. Of course, Straub and his supporters did not hope that the law would be adopted. However, he is pleased with the enthusiasm and interest from the media, which caused his idea the last few years. Guy Standing, a British economist who in 1986 founded the community of the Basic Income Earth Network, BIEN, for the promotion and study of this topic. The organization has grown from a small group of young economists, philosophers, and activists into the largest community of supporters of the introduction of unconditional income, a global network with branches in 23 countries. According to Standing, basic income is more than just a good policy. He said that more and more citizens of developed countries were living in chronic economic vulnerability. And this vulnerability contributes to the promotion of populist politicians, strengthening the positions of far-right parties in Europe and Donald Trump in the United States. By the way, what do you think? Will they go for a second term? Well, you see, economic stagnation helps politicians with extreme views, and this trend will be in force until the state will not take the destruction of this vulnerability. For UBI. Among the supporters of the UBI introduction can be found people of any ideology. Striving for efficiency, libertarians like the idea of simplification of bureaucracy in the social state. Techies in Silicon Valley do hope that a guaranteed income will smooth the transition to the automation of many jobs. Those who dream of utopia, like the organizers of the Swiss referendum, expect that people will open up new opportunities and they will be able to do art instead of doing, as expressed by Straub, garbage work. Opponents of the complex system of social benefits argue, basic income will get rid of the welfare trap. Payments will not depend on any circumstances. In addition, all benefits would be combined into one, which would reduce administrative costs. Bloody banana! I'm ready to bite my half off to support that idea. Against UBI. Opponents of the idea rest on the fact that it will cost too much, and people will stop working and will become a heavy burden on the economy. Also, this idea is doomed to failure in less wealthy countries with a less developed system of social protection, as in Switzerland. And since the introduction of basic income implies a radical reform of the existing social protection system, many anti-poverty activists do not like it. There is no information about the real benefits of UBI. To put it bluntly, no one has conducted long-term experiments on the introduction of a full-fledged unconditional income without saying about their careful study, says Michael Fay, co-founder and executive director of the non-profit organization Give Directly. In April, Fay announced plans to conduct a large-scale pilot launch of basic income in Kenya, during which at least 6,000 people will be guaranteed to receive money for 10 to 15 years. The organization wants to find out what happens when people in a randomly selected region for a long time receive a guaranteed income. This has not been done before. Such experiments will help to understand how unconditional income works. However, this initiative has always been as economic as it is political. So far, there is no clear evidence of real benefit, and basic income is only of general interest. After all, who doesn't like to be given money? Especially creative bananas love it! Will people refuse to work? It is not yet clear how the introduction of basic income will affect people's attitudes to work. However, there have been several attempts over the past 50 years to address this issue. In the period from 1968 to 1980, the US has carried out 4 large-scale experiments on the introduction of a negative income tax. During these experiments, families were paid money for several years and under close supervision. It was no surprise that people began to work less. Some recipients of payments reduced the number of working hours, but not much. No more than 5 to 7% among heads of families, and slightly more among other working family members. However, there was no general refusal to work, and those of the subjects who reduce working hours use the free time for other purposes, including training. This gives hope to reform advocates who cite the results of these studies as proof that basic income can be introduced without damaging effects on the economy. The private sector is also interested, for example, Silicon Valley. These enthusiasts are driven not so much by the desire to improve social support, but by the desire to prepare for more fundamental changes in the economy that await us in the nearest future. In a widely discussed article released in 2013, 2 Oxford economists estimated that 47% of US jobs are at risk of computerization. I'll be a banana's uncle. More and more engineers believe that the basic income is able to crack. That is, to fix the system in which human labor is no longer so valuable and necessary, and to give people the opportunity to survive in such an economic situation. So what's the end result? In different countries, interest in basic income is fueled by a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. But its main idea, and the most attractive one, is utopian. The main existential question that arises in the course of the debate is the place of work in our lives. Straub, the organizer of the Swiss referendum, recalls how his great-grandfather worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Such hard labor is no longer required and does not attract anyone. Dreams of a world in which we produce more than we can consume have come true. The market economy is a great thing, but we want to take it to a new level and replace it with a new system, says Straub. It will change the usual course of our lives. If you liked the video, please push the like button and subscribe to our channel. There's lots of interesting stuff ahead.